Hello, low ego action heroes. It's Debbie Levitt from Delta CX, and it is a Tuesday, so that means it's time for Office Hours Ask Me Anything. It is Tuesday, September 29, 2020, and I was too lazy to put on my good microphone today, so I hope this one is good enough. How's everybody doing out there? Let me get all my screens ready and hear from all of you. See. We already have a question, but the question was a little strange. So I think if you're listening, I may need you to resend it or I'll answer the few things it might mean. Um so remember, let's put it up on the screen. Press the button, press the button. Here we go. You can ask your questions in many ways. You can ask them live in LinkedIn. You can ask them in the YouTube chat. You can now ask them on Twitter with hashtag DeltaCX. And you can send them through the anonymous system, which is deltacx.link/AMA. That means if I read it out loud, I won't say your name. So if you want to talk about something going on at your job or something you're concerned about, we won't know who you are. So you can certainly send that. It'll come into my email, and I always do my best to keep an eye on the email. Let's also turn on the YouTube chats and check that it's live everywhere because you never know. Okay, LinkedIn says we're live. I believe it. That's great. So let me start with the question that we got. Ooh, they're coming in. All right, let's see. Maybe the person is repairing their question. No, more questions. Okay, so we've got our first question. I'm wondering what this person really means because it says, why can I articulate my design decisions to the stakeholders? Why? Because you might have to, because you should. I'm not sure if you mean why or if you mean how, or if you mean something else. I shouldn't assume. How? So if it's how do I articulate my design decisions to the stakeholders? Some of that has to do with the stakeholders, and so I tend to play to my audience. So sometimes I articulate things differently to different people based on how I've learned they best receive information. So depending upon what that is, we might find that some people are very comfortable with different types of documentation. Sometimes I might do PowerPoint presentations, but you have to keep them short and to the point and full of good meaty stuff. I might have videos of research or testing where people can see real people struggling or hating life or whatever it might be. Sometimes that gives you enough to articulate. So, when you talk about articulating a design decision, one of the hard things for me to answer about that question is which decisions and to whom and maybe why. So, I don't know if this is just a regular report that you're giving stakeholders because that's the flow of what you do with them. I don't know if this is if someone has asked you to explain or defend yourself, which sometimes requires a little bit of a different shift. So I might say if you're watching live, can you maybe send in another anonymous question and maybe give me a little bit more color or detail on whether you mean just regular design decisions or if you're being grilled or put on the hot seat or something like that? Because sometimes stakeholders in a dreamy dream world, stakeholders trust you and allow you to make decisions in your own domain, and you don't necessarily have to explain yourself time after time. More commonly at jobs, we do have to explain ourselves, but I'd like to know a little bit more about the scenario to try to give more directed advice. So let's take a look at some of the other questions coming in. We've got a few more that are coming in, and I'm always copy and paste them into a little note document that I keep. Then they get pasted into the YouTube description so that people who find this later can see what questions we answered in what order. So we've got a bunch of them coming in anonymously, and these are good ones. So thanks to everybody who's joining in today, live or from wherever you are. Let's see what my system says. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these questions. And if you're watching live, maybe the design decisions person can give me a little bit more color, and I'm happy to be more specific. Next question: how to align on findings with a team after user research? My team members had different, even opposite findings from the same user insights. Wonderful question. So, my first kind of question back is, there's a myth about alignment. And I find that we're very often told you must find alignment, you must find alignment. But I find that other roles and domains on our team and at our company don't find alignment. They make decisions and they articulate, they tell us those decisions. Product doesn't say, I'm thinking about this roadmap for the product and prioritizing features this way, but let me go get alignment on that. No, they don't. No, they don't. So I think it's important to think about what do we mean by alignment, because alignment sometimes sounds like I don't have power to make decision in my own world and I have to hope that I can get everybody on board for what I'm trying to do in UX. And of course, that's always like, oh, why do we still not have that power and autonomy yet? And then when you say my team members had different or opposite findings on the same user insights, I don't know if these are fellow UX teammates where you had other researchers or you had some interaction designers listen to interview recordings and come up with their own ideas. So I don't have, the downside to some of these anonymous questions is I don't have you live in YouTube where I can see what people are asking and we can turn it to a little bit more of a conversation. But mm, um, my question would be, who are we trying to align and possibly why? Because I think there's a little bit of a fallacy there. Yes, we need to collaborate and we need to communicate with people, but the alignment thing is tough, especially when it's with people outside of UX. Like if you're a UX researcher, a qualified UX researcher, and a developer, a product manager, a marketing person saw some of your interviews and came up with other things, first of all, take them seriously. They may have noticed things you missed. They may have good ideas that you missed. They may have noticed a pattern or some findings that you missed. So, thing one, always take what they're saying seriously in case there's value there. If there isn't value there, then we're in a tough spot where we have to kind of eliminate those findings. And remember, don't don't eliminate them. Someone says, I sent in a bunch of anonymous questions and I don't know why I sent them that way. Okay, Frederick, good to see you. Denise says, alignment with other UX designers that work on the same project. Thank you, Denise. Good to see you. I sure hope that job has gotten better. Frederick forgot the chat was a thing. Yes, we accept questions in the LinkedIn chat, the YouTube chat, hashtag DeltaCX out on the Twitterverse, except I'm not sure it's working today. I'm not getting some of my messages into my chat system. No, chat system, don't fail me today. Oh, I forgot to press the on button. I bet that'll do it. Okay, so I guess I'm answering possibly Denise or somebody's question right now. Alignment with other UX designers that work on the same project. So again, first, take their findings seriously. If they have seen something that you didn't notice, we want to take those things seriously, see if they need to be worked into our affinity diagrams or our mural board or our documentation. But when you say they had opposite findings, are you saying they watched the same interviews and you heard red and they heard blue? And I did think you were working with other UX designers. I thought you were working with engineers. So maybe you can kind of update me on what you've been doing, because I haven't seen you in a while. I hope you've been okay. So let's see. So somebody tell me more about, I need more color today, everybody. Your questions are leaving me wondering. Remember, there isn't a limit to characters when you send in the anonymous way. There is a limit on LinkedIn, there is a limit on YouTube, certainly on Twitter. But when you send in the survey-based one, you can write me long stories so that I can get a little bit more information and I struggle a little bit less with trying to answer the question without knowing exactly what's going on. So, so I guess I'd like to know like an example of what wasn't aligning or where you were having opposite findings. And also, depends what you mean by findings. Sometimes people heard similar things or heard the same thing, but then disagreed on what that meant or disagreed on what opportunities does that create for our company or product. And so again, always take those other people's opinions or findings seriously in case they heard something you missed or they have another angle or idea that you didn't have. But I mean, if they're really, really way out, and if it's up to you, then sometimes you leave those out of the documentation as giant outliers. I do see a question coming in from LinkedIn. Rahat, I will ask your question. I will answer your question after about 3 or 4 others that I have. And um, let's see. Denise says we have more UX designers now. Companies hiring more and more leaders saw the necessity finally. Okay, that's good news. Better than last time we connected, which feels like 3 months ago by now. Okay, so and again, Denise, you can always contact me privately because I know who you are and we've spoken. So so I would love to get a little bit more idea about this, but again, you might not want to share it live on the interwebs. I understand that. So book a coaching time with me or something like that, and free one. I won't charge you because you and I are always in the middle of the conversation. So hopefully we can help you out a little bit there. Let's see, nothing else in the email yet, so I haven't had a follow-up to the design decisions one. Let's move to the next one, and if anybody gives me more follow-up information, we'll come back to that question. I love the next question. What is your take on design systems? I generally love them, and we did an episode on design systems. It was really old. I want to say like episode 11. Let me look for it. Let's look up the word systems. YouTube has a really funky search. Episode 13 from January 17th. So if you go into the live stream podcasts playlist and you just go back in time, they're in number order to episode 13. You'll see the interview I did with Sarah about design systems. She's a fantastic visual designer that I know. So I generally do like design systems. Before that, I liked component libraries and whatever we're calling them. So I like anything that gets everybody on the same page about how things look at and work. Obviously, design systems don't replace visual designers. They don't replace CX and UX architects and designers, but they get everybody on the same page about what this looks like, and especially across different features or products in an organization, so that this looks like our company no matter where they are in the system. I do feel strongly that design systems must be accessible. So whoever is designing, maintaining, or updating the design system should be trained in accessibility and should understand what needs to happen for people who might have hearing, vision, mobility, cognitive, emotional, and other issues. Because I am so tired of seeing design systems with so much red or so much gray or red and green or pink on red or whatever. So it's time for people to understand color contrast, color blindness, things we need to do for people who have hearing issues, things we need to do for people who tab through sites, focus indicators and things like that. So love design systems, want to see them done better in some cases, but hopefully that helps. And go look up episode 13 from January to learn a little bit more about design systems. Next question is, how do designers fit into the whole DevOps movement? I feel like it's kind of back-end developer thing. Are there things we as designers should do or adapt in order to improve our contributions to such teams? We just did a podcast on that, episode 70 from a month ago. We had Ishwar on the show, who I met at a DevOps conference. He's an agile coach and DevOps all-around guy. He spoke to that, and mostly what I would say from having attended what I think is now 50 DevOps conferences, I agree that DevOps seems to mostly be an engineering thing where we don't have a lot of interplay with that. But where I do see us having interplay with that is DevOps sees themselves as kind of the stewards and shepherds of improving culture. and improving culture in engineering and whatever engineering interfaces with. And that to me is where we come in. We can do a better job collaborating, we can do a better job improving the culture, and that is where I think we can go to some DevOps people at our company or leaders. And again, go to the leaders and say, what can we do for and with you? When I do my stop evangelizing UX and what to do instead talk, I remind people we talk so much about having empathy for our customers and users, and we have to build a world for them and around them. And then we don't do that for our coworkers. We can be pretty crappy to our coworkers. Let's use that empathy we supposedly have to design a better experience with our coworkers. And to me, the DevOps team is part of that. So is security, so is QA, so is marketing. And I think that we can go to these people and say, here's what I need from you. What do you need from me? How do you need it from me? When do you need it from me? Now, that doesn't mean you adjust everything about your world, but see where you can give a little bit and give that person the types of things that they need. And if you can't, say, well, I can give you this. Does that work? Break down that silo, have that collaboration. But I agree that in general, while DevOps is very important, it just seems to be more of an engineering thing and doesn't play into UX tremendously right now, other than how I see it, the culture overlap, and B, our ability to support some DevOps goals. And some of the key DevOps goals where I believe we can make a difference include DevOps is very excited about making sure we build the right thing. Releasing more often. Of course, I would say releasing more often sounds great, but let's release the right thing. So remember, we can really help engineers release the right thing. Very often at our companies, we see companies releasing the wrong thing or something we rushed out. DevOps hypothetically isn't for that. Neither is Agile or Lean, but people seem to forget that. So I think go to your Agile coach, your Scrum Master, your DevOps leader, and say, what can we do together? What can I do to support you, and where can you support me? Create a relationship, improve a relationship. I think that that's a great way to go. Maggie, I see your question. I'm going to have to put it after like the next three questions that I have. So give me a moment, please. We got a whole bunch of anonymous questions at the beginning, and then Frederick said he sent them. So I'll get there. We've got one from John. And so I'm sorry, Maggie, you are like three more questions down from what I thought. So we will get there. All questions will be answered today. You all know that if you are low ego action heroes and regular viewers of the show, which of course means I hope you have usability tested the subscribe button. Just, tap it, click it, make sure it's on. And of course, empathize with the like button. Give it all your heart and put yourself in its shoes and let the YouTube algorithm know you like stuff like this. And of course, always thank you to my boyfriend for writing those jokes. Okay, we've got a question. I've recently started working in a team of designers where I feel like they, have a tendency to go for what I would coin as the assumption-driven design approach. How can I go about changing this? That can be hard. It really depends on how ingrained that has become in the company's processes. I might try to go to a manager to talk about some issues with those processes. You might also need a little bit of help from a manager in making, because usually you can make that case with money. Because a lot of companies are not calculating how much time, money, morale, customer patience, customer support that they've burned by releasing these assumptions. And the problem is that we have lots of books and models that glorify the assumption based approach. People read Lean Startup and they go, oh, yeah, let's just guess at stuff, put it out, and see how it goes. Customers don't like, heads up, customers don't like that. It's something that startups can do because they want to show that they can ship and hopefully get some investment money. But it really doesn't make sense for non-startups. So usually I find that the people who love the assumptions read a book. And we have to kind of convince them that that book might be right for other people, but it's not right for us. Lean Startup might be great for startups who don't have funding yet, but we're not that. Also, Some people read Lean UX. Lean UX is heavy into guesses and assumptions, and assuming they'll prove themselves right or wrong later. So I tend to find that this comes from books, and I also tend to find that this comes from kind of incorrect or misguided definitions of agile or lean. That when people think lean is let's just go as fast as we can to get something out, then they think, well, let's just guess or assume now, and we'll find out later if it was good. Or when people think agile means go as fast as you can and just get stuff out, then of course that's what they think. So this might take managerial intervention. This isn't always for the worker bee to try to solve, because once this is somebody's process, it's tough. So I think you need, hopefully you have a manager who knows this is the wrong way. If you have a manager who thinks guessing and assuming are the right way, and especially if this is a UX manager, then I would probably saying polish up that resume and that LinkedIn, because I'm not sure you're going to stay there very long. I always want people to stay at jobs as long as humanly possible, but it's going to be very difficult if you have to do good CX or UX work and everybody is guessing or assuming. You can also show them the NNG article that says we should basically never be guessing or assuming. We should invest the time and money to know. You can send them my articles on how we used to put all of our faith in research and development, and now we think we should guess things in a matter of hours. Why? We all, not me, everybody but me idolizes Apple. What do you think they do? They spend billions each year. I looked this up. They spent something like $7 billion last year on research and development. Do you think your iPhone was the product of assumption driven design? So it's so funny that the companies that we idolize really don't work on assumption. They work on extensive research, development, testing, etc. So I really wish people followed those and not books about startups cutting corners. So hopefully that helps a little bit. If you need more help, contact me privately. But hopefully that will give you some ammunition for that. And again, follow the money. See if you can figure out what did it cost us to do design based on guesses, have engineering build that, release that to the public, have to support it, have to figure out what went wrong, have to fix it, have to interrupt now project to fix it, put it out again. If we counted the money on this, we would never do assumption driven design, but nobody's watching the money. See if you can convince somebody they should be watching the money, and eventually people will wake up. I mean, that's the bottom line. Alrighty. Next question was from Rahat over in LinkedIn. Thanks for your patience. How do you approach users for participating in usability testing? Really depends on your relationship with the users and whether these are your existing customers or whether these are random people or whether somebody else is finding them for you. But in general, I'm typically starting with maybe a screener survey to send this out to a population of people. Maybe it's current customers or a mailing list we have, or our Facebook page, or our LinkedIn people. And we can use the screener survey to identify who is the best match for this testing, who's the best match to our personas. If our personas were done correctly, join in next week or whenever when I'm doing personas. Who is a good match to our personas, who should be part of this usability testing, or who is a good match to this particular study? So, Rahat, tell me if I'm in the right neighborhood here, but I would say that I normally would approach these users either with an email, reaching out to them more personally, if I already learned that they are open to being part of studies, or I might be sending out a screener survey more broadly to the customer base or a segment of the customer base or our Twitter followers or something like that, and then using the results from that screener survey to further narrow down who we might want to be a part of the usability testing. Good question. I hope that helps. Please let me know if you have a follow-up question. Let's check the anonymous thing that just came in. And I see you, anonymous question, and I will add you to the bottom of the list after the Maggie question. So everybody, please be patient. We've got lots of viewers today, and thank you for that. In fact, I'm not even getting a real count for my system. My system messed up the count. So So thank you. Okay, back to the questions. We've got so many. Oops, I keep flipping to the wrong screen for my questions. All right, what was the next question? It's really okay. I don't know if this is a question or if this is a comment on LinkedIn from my Trey. I'm sorry, I'm so bad with names. I hope that's close. It's really difficult to convince people in the team and product to work based on research and user interviews. People like working on assumptions. That's restricting my learning. Yeah, it is. I don't know if there's a question in there, but again, I think that there's certainly a lot of things that I try to put out there in articles, in broadcasts, in conference sessions, in my book to try to help people talk about this. And in fact, we have a podcast planned specifically on this topic. From memory, I think it's October 21. We're going to have Joel Barr come back, and he's going to do, he's a UX researcher, and he's going to talk about combating the typical reasons companies give for not doing research or skimping on research. So let's see what ideas Joel has when we meet him for the third time on October 21st. Okay, we have what I think was an anonymous question. How to approach the design process when lack of time is given to the discovery phase? Super question. One of the first things I like to do is document the lack of the discovery phase. Because remember, if you are going to be held accountable for this design or the outcomes of this design, it's important for your documentation to reflect, normally we should have had X amount of time to do this discovery process. For this feature, for this product, for this fix, for this whatever, we really should have had 4 days to run. We should have had a week to do 10 user interviews. We should have had whatever to do this. This was not given to us. In the future, we request that we be part early on of all discussions and time estimation and planning so that we can get the time that we need to do our proper process. And Denise says, I think doing the research wrong is more dangerous than not doing research. Well, in this case, it sounds like they didn't do the research. Obviously, once you get to design, the less you have from a discovery phase or any previous research or things like that, the more you are guessing. And that is where I have to document that as well. That without proper artifacts, data, findings, insights, actionable suggestions from the discovery phase, I'm left to guess what should happen here in the architecture, in the design. Okay, that was John. Thank you, John. So I think that it's a bad spot to be in, but honestly, it's one we are in all the time. I've worked at very famous companies that if I name Maggie P throws crazy icons up on the screen. I've worked at very famous companies I won't name that basically did that. That I would show up at the kickoff meeting and they would say, and you've got 2 days to give us final wireframes. And I'd say, well, I really think that this needs a little bit of research and a little bit more discovery so that we can make sure we're building the right thing for the right customer, make sure that this is the right problem that we should solve. And they go, you don't have to do that. This project got approval. Just get us wireframes. So my recommendation to people is you might be stuck just making wireframes, but make sure you are documenting what should have happened, what did happen, what you're doing, and the possible outcomes of that. What are the possible outcomes of that? The possible outcomes of that are that we don't build the right thing. And we know from 5 minutes ago that DevOps is all on fire about engineering must be building the right thing. We know that Agile wants feedback put back into the system so that we are building the right thing. Agile Manifesto Principle number 1, our highest priority is customer satisfaction. So I tell people document when your project goes funky, when you're not given the time, the budget, the headcount to do the proper work. And that way, when later on people go, well, UX gave us this crappy design, so that's why the customer's not happy. Okay, but I didn't get the right time to do my process. If you had given developers 1/8 of the time they needed, you would have buggy junk. You know what? We shouldn't be surprised at this anymore. Um, Oh yeah, Maggie is reminding me of a one we had a couple of weeks ago. We don't research here. She's doing throwback. She's quoting old shows. She's a friend of the show, a true low ego action hero. So there you go. So we can finally get to Maggie's other question. She's in the queue. And Maggie says, Debbie, what are your thoughts on design principles, especially when we don't have a formal design system or proper brand guidelines? Okay, so it kind of depends what you mean by that, because what I've seen some portfolio projects that have said, and these were my design principles, and they kind of said a bunch of things that I thought should be really obvious, like this should be accessible. Yes. This should be easy to use. Yes. So I think, Maggie, since you're here and I know there's a short delay with YouTube, do you mean that kind of stuff that I sometimes see in portfolios where it's like, these are our beacons, our values? We are going to design for We're going to design for what people need based on qualitative research. Do you mean a document like that? Um, because ultimately, if that, those are a little bit different than a design system and brand guidelines. So tell me, clear up for me what you mean by design principles, and then we can try to answer that a little bit better. Sorry that I didn't totally get that. Let's just check that I'm not missing any questions. Rahat says, thanks for your answer. Very helpful. Cool. And okay, good. I think I'm caught up on LinkedIn, which is sometimes very far behind where I am. LinkedIn is so funky. Can I ask a crazy question? Are you peeps having good times with ADP list? Because I hear some weird things. Hey, Katie is here. Hey, Katie. Who else is here? Angie. And okay, John, we saw. And Damianos and Tushar. Good to see everybody over in the LinkedIn side. I haven't heard back from the Maggie. So, Maggie, I'm going to jump to the next question and we'll jump back to yours when I get a little bit more about that. Avraham says, hi. Hi. Denise, after my company shared UX principles, everybody became a designer by committee. Oh, don't make me poke my eyes out, people. I like my eyes. All right. Hold on, that goes with this. Ha 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 ha. No, everybody is not a designer, just like everybody is not a product manager, engineer, DevOps engineer, QA tester, marketing. Peeps. All right. Let's go to other questions. Oh, Maggie says yes and no. Not the obvious things, but we're looking to have a cohesive design language we can refer to when we design and iterate. One example I was thinking about was flexible. It sounds like you're talking about what I used to call a component library. Do you mean something like that? Um, uh, I haven't had bad experiences with ADP list. I'm wondering if any of you have. Just because I've heard some weird things. I've heard good and bad. I'm just wondering how you are doing. Um, Maggie, I think you might be talking about a component library where you kind of say, this is what a drop list looks like. And when we use checkboxes, they look like this. Here's a checked box. Here's an unchecked box. Here's a disabled checkbox. Do you mean that type of thing? Um, I'm just waiting for Maggie to answer because usually she's fast. She's fast on the draw. But I do have a question from the anonymous questions. Don't forget, everybody, we've got more anonymous questions, deltacx.link/AMA. Please remember, you can also sign up for my live Acture workshop in early December. I'll be doing my 2-day core skills class. It's normally $900, and I'm charging 60, since I'm hoping to help everybody upskill this year and become confident with Acture. We're going to go from holy cats, I've never seen Acture before to confident intermediate. So please check out deltacx.link/DEC, like December 2020. So come on and join that. We still have some seats available, and you will get the live 2-day workshop that I'm going to do, as well as access to my video courses, so that you've got the video courses to refer to if you need a little refresher on the lessons that we're going to do. Maggie says words are hard. Maggie, you've got direct access to me in the Slack workspace, so if you just want to have a chat there, we can talk about it more privately if you'd like. We have a Slack workspace, but I'm not pointing at it. I have too many things on the screen. Let's try again. Um, we have a Slack workspace. deltacx.link/join Slack. You can come on there and chat with some like-minded people, or find me if you really need my attention. So that's sometimes a good way to go, though in general, I love to get questions here, because if you have the question, other people have the question, and it's great to ask things here. So don't forget to subscribe and like. I'm going to move on to the anonymous question. And Maggie, you can try again here, or you can send me a Slack message. I'll look at it later. I have been asked to conduct a user research. Kathleen the Bear says hi. Hi, Kathleen. I've been anonymous bear, that should be. I've been asked to conduct a user research to validate a product idea. That sentence already gives me a little bit of ooh, scary. The product is a tool for a specific type of developer. Any suggestions, tips on recruiting testers and interviewees that are just not easy to find? Is it easy to find and recruit people to test a consumer app for order? Oh, sorry, that's not a question. It is easy to find and recruit people to test a consumer app for ordering food and booking a hotel. But finding testers for more technical and niche products is very challenging. Any ideas? How do you approach it? Any ideas from the audience? P.S. The customer does not want or cannot help with the recruiting process. Okay, so it sounds like you might be at an agency, and this is your customer, and the developers are their customers. That's the impression I'm getting. There's a few ways that you can go with this. Number one, you can try to broadcast something like this to where tech people might hang out. I've got lots of tech people in my network on LinkedIn, so broadcasting this to LinkedIn might make sense. There might be a way to tweet this out if there's a relevant hashtag that you think will attract the eye of the type of developer you're looking for. And again, you're not tweeting them an invitation directly into the study. You want to get them in a screener survey so that you can screen for the type of person you're looking for and make sure you have the right people. So create that screener survey, get it out there, possibly on LinkedIn, possibly on Twitter. Maybe there are some Stack Overflow places. Try to go where the developers are. And in some cases, when I need something really specific that's a little bit hard to find, and I'm about to do this, so I can't tell you if it's going to work or not. I don't know yet if I'm going to tell you later, like, oh, wait, this didn't go very well. But I am going to pay userinterviews.com to find me some people that I need for a study. And I think they wanted about 40 American dollars per person for the somewhat narrow group that I'm looking for, that I don't think I could easily find through the usual channels. We ultimately need 10 people, so $400 to give to them to find these people, I think would be worth it. And hopefully they do it. So of course I'm going to start them very early, much earlier than I need these people, just in case they're like, oh, we can't find them, and I have to start scraping through the known universe. So I think that user interviews and people who have panels, and agencies, there are outside agencies that will sometimes recruit for people. These can be expensive, but I hear people say they're worth it. They take a lot of time and wackiness off of your plate. But otherwise, I think in general, developers aren't that hard to find. We just have to screen them like any other population. So maybe something on LinkedIn, Twitter, GitHub, Stack Overflow, Reddit. There's got to be places out there to find these people. I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't know where every type of person hangs out, but hopefully you can find some that way. I hope that helped. I think I'm caught up on questions. Let's check the email. Nope, we've got an email one. Do. All right. We've got a question here, and let's paste it in. I have recently started in a tech consultancy as a UX designer. I do also do some front-end development, but I would not identify at all as a developer. As a consultant, I have to build a constant CV and find it more difficult to describe my role in projects and competence as a designer versus as a developer. It's so easy to build it as a developer, as it's catered towards keywords and like technologies. As a consequence, my consultant CV kind of portrays me for as a front-end developer, which I'm not. I need help. Okay, first of all, maybe send your CV to me. I will look at it for free. So track me down. I do give one CV review for free to peeps. So please, maybe I can take a look at it. I don't think building a consultant CV is that hard. I think there are lots of keywords in the UX world that can end up in the CV. Maybe I'm not understanding your question correctly, but I think that uh, you know, you have to be honest about what the work was. If you are coming in as a UX designer, but you're mostly doing front end dev, then you've got to accurately describe these jobs as coding jobs. If you are doing UX work, whether that's information architecture or interaction design, wireframing, prototyping, the tools you used, there are definitely some keywords in there that I think, if they are honest, can be relevant and can be added to your resume, CV, LinkedIn to describe what you're doing. So, but it's hard for me to answer that without knowing what you did and how to tell you what keywords I would use for it. So, throw a follow up question my way or send me a message privately if you're on the Slack system. Shoot me there. Find me on LinkedIn. Send a message there. I'm not too hard to find, right, everybody? Oh, excuse me. I always tell people I yawn through my own podcasts, but now today I could not hide it. I'm going straight to bed after this, people. I'm not feeling well. As a reminder, won't you please subscribe on YouTube, where the delay is less and it's more of a conversation? Please teach the YouTube algorithm you enjoy this stuff and that they should show this to more people. That would really support me and help me a lot, and I'm very appreciative of that. And of course, you can join the Slack universe where we have almost 300 people. It is still pretty quiet. It is not a very active place. It's picking up a little bit, but it's certainly not overwhelming. Let's put it that way. I look forward to when I can go, oh my God, overwhelming. Also, a fun reminder about the YouTube channel. We are creeping up on 1,000 subscribers, and I have been threatening that once we reach 1,000 subscribers, we will have a boyfriend reveal, and we will have him on as a special guest in Office Hours Ask Me Anything, and it will be Debbie's boyfriend, Ask Him Anything. Right, honey? He said, oh, I didn't know this. I just made it up, but I think it sounds good. So, whatever you want to know about Debbie's boyfriend or Debbie via Debbie's boyfriend, he'll take your questions. Once we reach 1,000 subscribers, we'll have a special celebration. I have caught up to questions, and we do still have about 15 minutes left. So, Maggie says she's for it. Maggie, get your questions ready. Speaking of Maggie, I got to hire you, Maggie, because I've had so many ideas for merchandise lately, and I just don't have the time to make it. And for some reason, I keep thinking, why should I have Maggie make the merchandise? Maggie says, come on, people, subscribe. Denise says, yes, if he is Italian. He is Italian, Denise. Denise, are you still in Italy? Were you in Bologna, was it? With 9,000 followers on LinkedIn, I can only remember certain things about each of you, but I'm doing my best. Yes, he is Italian, everybody. Real Italian. Okay, Kathleen's got a thing. Oh, good. Kathleen's got a comment for one of the questions. Let's put that up on the screen. Kathleen says, in regards to the person looking for developers, there's a developer community on Twitch. Maybe you can find who you're looking for there. Thank you, Kathleen. Good idea. Again, the populations I'm looking for, I have to admit, usually come from my clients. I'm usually not recruiting from the world. Usually my client will bring me the people for me. So every little bit helps. Takes a village. Zoom. So this is office hours. Ask me. Oh, Denise says not in Bologna. I'm in Germany. Oh, you did move to Germany. All right. Well, good luck with that. I was like, don't move yet. Make sure you like the job. But you did move. Okay. So willkommen to Germany. So we're caught up. Uh, this gives Maggie another chance to rephrase her question, or anybody else, because this is office hours Ask Me Anything, and I always stay for an hour to see if anybody has any questions that I can answer. I always hope people will ask questions publicly where possible, so that we can have answers for everybody. Let's take a quick look at the upcoming. Oh, we've got Peaches here. Peaches, I want to know who you are. Just the name makes me happy. Peaches says, "Hi, Debbie. What are your thoughts on when and how much you should share with others? I sometimes struggle to know who I should seek alignment from when it comes to research planning." Okay. So Maggie says +1 on Peaches. Not on who you are, I think on your question. So, okay, so now I remember that Peaches is a UX researcher, and I believe Peach has said she is a she and her uh, pronoun person. Always give me your pronouns, people. Peaches says, as in the whole team, PMs, engineers, etc. Okay, so my approach to that is we have to be careful there, because sometimes I believe that if we over involve those people, then they believe either you're incompetent or the UX process is theirs also. And so we have to kind of find that very delicate balance between collaboration and between, oops, you're doing my job for or with me. So what I might do is I might go to PMs, engineers, whatever, and I might say, we're planning some research. We're planning research around people's perception of our pricing model, or we're planning research around how easy our system is to use, or we're planning research around are our target audience, is our target audience the right people for, where they're having their pain points, what are our opportunities to build for them. Hey, PMs, engineers, what are some questions you'd like answered, or what are some things you're hoping we will, that's probably a better way to say it, what are some things you're hoping we'll learn from interviewing customers? And then just let them know that if their questions match the research objectives, you'll write them in a format appropriate to UX research. If their questions do not match research objectives, I would say, ooh, that's a little bit out of scope for what we were going to research now. I'll put that in the parking lot for now, and maybe in a future project we can learn that. Or if that's really important to you, let's talk to a project manager about spinning up some time for UX to research that. So I would say, remember, you don't need alignment. I think we talked about this before. Maggie, what am I going to say? Own it. Own it. So don't give up your power by saying, I actually said this at the beginning of today, but I know people tune in late because YouTube shows me a graph of when y'all show up. So remember, alignment is sometimes this weird idea that we have that everyone has to like us and agree with us. But you'll notice that none of your coworkers get alignment. They announce their decisions. So Peaches says, thanks, Debbie. I'm constantly worried about undermining myself, but also wanting to give everybody visibility to what I'm doing, particularly when working from home. Yes, and remember that all of these can happen. So you can have visibility. And again, I would just go to those people as I would as part of a good collaboration. And I would say, hey, we're planning some observational research or some contextual inquiry, or well, that would go with the observation. We're planning some interviews. We're planning something because we have some of these things we want to learn. And what are some things you wish you could learn from our customers that would be in this arena? So you don't need alignment. You don't need their approval. You don't need them to whiteboard with you. You don't need a co-design session. You don't need them to glue macaroni to a plate in a group exercise. Just find out what they wish they knew. And if it's in scope, then find a way to add it to your interviews or your project, so that later on you can go to them and go, I spoke to 8 people and here's what I found out about that thing you wanted to know. Yeah, Maggie's quoting me now. No earning, owning. Maggie, we're actually planning a podcast with Dr. Seth Finkel. We're bringing him back at the end of the month to talk about earning respect. So I decided to turn that one into a whole session. Peaches, how's that? Am I going in the right direction with that? I know there's a 20-second delay, so I've got to wait for you to react to me. Um, but does that go in the right direction of that? Maggie says, woo! And Peaches says, hands up. So yeah, collaborate without giving up your power. This will give you visibility. I'm planning this research. Here's my research goals. I'm going to do this research on this dates. I'm going to have findings and insights available on this date. What would you like to learn from our customers? So don't say what would you ask? That's your job. What would you like to learn from or about our this customer group for this round of research? And if it's relevant and in scope, I'll include it. Remember, you keep your realm, by kind of playing a little defense by playing offense. I'll write the appropriate questions, and you can say this gently. I'll write the appropriate questions. I'll work it into the interview. I'll find the patterns. I'll create the findings. You'll have them on this day if it's relevant and appropriate to the research that I'm doing. If not, let's get it in the parking lot, or let's work with a project manager to spin up additional research so I can find out these things you need to know. So I would say run with that. Peaches, thank you. Someday I hope to know who you are. You're mysterious. Who could Peaches be? Maybe that's got to be our 2,000 subscriber reveal. Who is Peaches? Peaches will be our special guest. Peaches, by the way, my apprentices are interviewing UX researchers as part of their apprenticing project to learn interviewing. If you would be open to being interviewed, A, we get to find out who you are, and B, it would be great to have another researcher to interview for our project. So contact me privately if you're open to that. If not, that's cool. Other researchers out there, if you are open to being interviewed by my research apprentices, we're not paying, sorry. But it's great. They are all practicing their interview skills, and we appreciate anybody willing to give an hour to my apprentices. Isn't Peaches a Mario game character? I think so. We've got a question and a subscriber. Thank you. Okay. Let's paste this question into the ever-growing list. The question says, I find the wording user testing to be quite poor, as we absolutely do not test our users or their skills or lack thereof. We're obviously trying to gauge if we built the right thing the right way. Do you or anyone in the audience have any thoughts and suggestions for a better term? I have an idea, but I think this is going to play really nicely into our October 19th podcast. Tune in October 19th when Michelle Ronson comes back again. She's such a favorite here. She is specifically doing research terminology. So if she doesn't answer that one, ask her October 19th. What I would say is a better term is probably usability testing, since yes, we are testing hopefully with users or customers or their archetypes. But of course, we are not testing the users. We are testing very often we are testing the usability of our concept or our prototype or whatever it is. Maggie said, bring in Michelle for this question. Well, we're bringing her back on October 19th. So if you don't like my answer or she doesn't like my answer, we'll improve on that on October 19th. So I would say usability testing is a good possible choice of words. Anybody else watching live right now have a suggestion of a better term other than user testing when we're not really testing the users? Sometimes I still find myself saying UX testing, but I get the feeling Michelle's going to tell us to stop saying that. And I know in places I've said and written user testing, though, I know we all know what we mean, but I know that other people could take it the wrong way. Denise says, can you do another session for how much I should know about developers and their work process? I enjoyed the earlier session on this topic. Yeah, we had someone come on and talk about DevOps and what we should know about DevOps. So I will see if I can find some people in some other engineering roles, maybe like developer, QA, things like that. So let me write a dev and a QA and how to collab with UX. I might take a break in early November on some of the podcasts. I'll do the live streams. Now that I have everybody here, tell me what you think of this. I might take a break in early November for the podcasts, not the office hours, because I'm very concerned that the American election is going to mess up people's minds, and nobody will really be in the mood to come see me be a wacky idiot and interview people. I think people are going to be distracted by how this election goes. So I'm thinking maybe cool off with podcasts for some of November. But I'll come to the office hours because obviously, if you're not in America, you don't care about the American election and you need your questions answered, they must be answered. But I'm thinking about not scheduling podcasts because I'm thinking people will be distracted. What do you all think of that? Do you have a thought, opinion, question? And to the person who asked the other question, I find sometimes I say we'll test our concept, we'll test our execution, we'll test our prototype. Um, Maggie says, I'm going to need distraction during the elections. And Anna P says, that is a strong possibility. And Stephanie says, I wouldn't mind the distraction from the election. And Frederick says, I'm glad I'm European. So, all right. So people wish they had election distractions. Okay. So maybe I will schedule some November podcasts. I was very worried that people would just be, between pandemic and school and seasons changing and election, that people would be like, "Oh my God, Debbie, shut up! Do not care. Someone tell Debbie. Someone tell Debbie just can it. Go away for a few weeks, Debbie." Um, I am in Europe. But I am an American citizen and I have already voted. Arizona has voting by PDF. I get emailed a PDF and I email back a PDF. So mail-in ballots? Don't know why we're still doing that. Well, we should do that for people who don't have access to PDFs, but for everybody else, PDF, it seems to work. Somehow they've decided that's good enough, and Arizona's a red state. So, we've got a few more minutes here. Anything anybody wants to suggest? Maybe do you have any topics you would like to hear in early November when the election and post-election wackiness will be happening? Any topics you'd like me to cover at that time? Frederick says, would love some of your thoughts on work from home UX design. That's good. Let me write that down. I know we did agile being remote. Work from home UX design. Frederick, anything about it in particular? Because I feel like we can certainly wireframe and prototype from home. We can certainly be part of meetings and processes from home. So, is there anything in particular, Frederick, that you are hoping I'll cover or areas where you have questions? Let me know. And if you think of anything later, tell me in Slack. Anna P says, great job, Arizona. Yeah, I don't know if that's available to everybody, but because I was always signed up for mail-in ballots. I've done mail-in ballots. I think the last time I went to a polling place was 2008. I've always done mail-in ballots, but once I was an expat and I registered as an expat, Arizona was like, "We'll email you the ballot," and I'm like, "No way!" Um, Okay. The insight phase. Insight phase? Frederick, do you mean research? Um, Maggie says leveling up from mid-level to senior. Mid-level to senior. Okay, I'll write that down. Denise says more dogs. Well, we didn't post a dog picture today. I don't think I did take a dog picture today. I just didn't post it to Instagram. I caught Deanna trying to escape. Um, so I took a picture of where she was so my boyfriend can build up the fence a little bit more. I caught Deanna trying to escape. I didn't put that on Instagram yet. But yeah, my dogs are hilarious. And then I also took a sad picture of Olivia being sleepy. Um, uh, will the world be a better place if a UX designer is the president of the US? Only if they agree that design thinking is garbage. Only if they're a low ego action hero using critical thinking. How's that? Denise, have you caught on to my new thing where I've made memes out of the dogs? Has anyone caught the memes, the dog memes I've been doing? Let's see. I've got a ring light. Sorry. Collaborative, but not designing by committee. I'm doing dog memes now. Yes, Diana is spelled Diana. Yeah, they just all have Italian names. Frederick said the Norwegian to English translation did not work well. UX research does not work in my language. Sorry, Frederick. Thank you for trying. Don't forget this one. Ring light, ring light. I saved you zillions by expertly planning, executing, and interpreting qualitative research. That's Peaches. Peaches will be played by Pizzolo the dog. And of course, today, put up this one, collaborative, but not working by committee in any of their domains. So I've made a whole bunch of dog memes. I've made 57. And I'm excited to put them up. I think here's a preview of a future one. I won't say that out loud. I hope people see it. Product manager. Just work for my wireframes. CX architect. Oh shit. There you go. So, and also I'm enjoying this one. This one's also Deanna. Staying quiet now. Updating my LinkedIn and portfolio later. So when I saw LinkedIn had stories, my first thought was LinkedIn absolutely should not have stories. And then my second thought was, oh, I have to make dog memes. And since they're all my dogs and pictures I or my boyfriend took, I have the copyright. Maggie says those are gold. Maggie, they've got to go on shirts. They've got to go on shirts. I need to hire someone to make merchandise. Ah, not enough time. Ah. Frederick, make sure you find me in Slack and tell me more about what you are thinking of, and that way I can work on planning something for you. But these should definitely be on. I've made 57 of them. That means 57 shirts. But I think people are going to appreciate this. Here's another one. You're saying developing, testing, releasing, and fixing it is faster and cheaper than doing UX now? Tell me more. I'm sharing these in my work UX channel. Oh, good. Maggie, have you been like downloading them from LinkedIn stories? Or I think I've also been posting them on Instagram. Instagram Delta_CX, everybody. And I think I tweeted a few. Frederick says, I find it increasingly harder to get good insight and rapidly get back to my team with qualitative research. Sounds like you're talking about remote qualitative research. Let's talk in Slack. I apologize. I'm pretty low on energy right now. I haven't been feeling well. I always get the change of seasons wackiness right about now. And of course, with all the coronavirus fears, I did buy a pulse oximeter to make sure my lungs are working. But so far, so good. So, lungs working. That's the news. Never buy a pulse oximeter during a pandemic. This was badly overpriced. This is what we call profiteering. Let's check that I still have a pulse. And blood. I do. I've got good, highly oxygenated blood. All right, so it's just energy or something I ate. Thank you, Frederick. I'm not feeling completely terrible, but I took Pepto-Bismol and Tylenol for Americans. That would be a stomach remedy and a headache remedy for non-Americans. Pepto-Bismol tongue, everybody. Too much information. Yeah, please do share the memes. They're shareable, and my dogs are so lovable. Anything else before I go? I know we're running a few minutes late. I just want to make sure everybody feels like their questions got answered today. Checking for Okay, so nothing else in the email other than Dr. Seth Finkel confirming October 28th for our podcast, but it looks like he's not free at our, no, he is free at our, no, wait, no, he's not free at our usual time, so we'll have to shift the time, but other than that, uh, he is free. Or maybe we can move him closer to the election and give everybody some fresh Dr. Finkelness at election time, since everybody loves when a psychologist drops by. Any questions? Ah! Research from home. Yeah, Frederick, I'm doing a research project right now where I'm doing 70 observational studies remotely through Zoom with interviews, and it's going super. By the way, I just want to laugh that I'm wearing a black shirt, and then there's this version of myself that I can see with my green screen taken out, so it's like floaty head. Floaty head. My boyfriend will run over. He's all jealous. He wants to wear a green shirt in front of the green screen when I introduce him, so he's floaty head. I'm gonna have to introduce you soon, honey. We're getting close to 1,000 subscribers. I know it says 948. Yeah, that close. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, everyone wants to meet you. They don't want to hear me. They want to meet you. Uh, okay. Whoa. Rahat has a question, and I will answer it, and then we will sign off for today. And remember, that URL for questions is good all week long. So if you think of a question that you'd like me to answer during office hours, just send it anytime during the week. And of course, remember to subscribe and to hit the like button so YouTube knows to show this to more people. And join us over in the Slack universe. So, Rahat says, how realistic should the prototype be when a team runs a design sprint? First of all, I'm completely against design sprints. So please go into the live streams, podcasts, playlists, or actually the models and astrologies playlists as well. We'll have the episode, not 47, that was with Joel Barr. High 40s, I think, was design sprint, or maybe early 50s. Design sprints are devolving and evil. So, thing one, don't do a design sprint. They're terrible. How realistic? So, I'm going to answer the question instead. How realistic should a prototype be when we are testing? Whether you're testing in a design sprint or testing anywhere else, if you are doing usability testing, to me, the prototype should be completely realistic. Now, I differentiate between the visual design of a prototype. Should it have the final branding and colors and iconography and typography and design system or component library? I believe it might not need to have that. It really depends on what you're testing, but I would say medium fidelity can be okay. High fidelity can be okay, but isn't always necessary. But the prototype must be realistic. Many people think of the realism of a prototype of how visually designed was it, how pretty was it, how much does it look like it has our brand. But I think of the realism as how realistic is the interactivity. So for example, that's why I don't use InVision, because InVision to me is not realistic interactivity. Even if it looks good, even if it looks realistic, it's not realistic interactivity. And if we're not testing something that has realistic interactivity, our testing could be flawed. That's why I don't do paper prototypes, because I can't hand someone a paper, ask them to pretend it's a screen, and use it as if it's a screen. That is already flawed. So I believe that testing, you have to build your prototype out to be realistic for the tasks you're giving people, and then make sure it works for those tasks, and maybe some error states through those tasks or some possible branches. And that's the way that I would approach that. Um, does the deck 2020 end at midnight? Midnight December 2. So you can the question was about my upcoming Axure course. You can register for the Axure course until the end of the day, December 2, 2020, because I think the course is December 3 and 4. And I send out the access to the video courses usually within about a day of you registering. So you'll get the access to the video courses within a day or so, and then the live version I'm going to do will be early December. Isn't that late for you Italians? Oh, does it end at midnight? I guess it does. Yeah, but I'm used to working for and with Americans, so I'm typically at my desk until about 10 at night my time. It is 7:40 at night my time, so 10 isn't that crazy? 11's not completely crazy, and midnight's just a little weird. So yes, it is a little bit late. Yes, 4 p.m. midnight. Yeah, it is because I was trying to find the best balance possible between California and India. That's like where most of my audience seems to be. We've got a lot of people in India, and they are 3.5 hours ahead of me, so the time for them is terrible. I can never work around India as much as I'd like to, without completely dumping California into the ocean. And so that's hard. And I only want to do this once because it's 2 solid days, which I would have to take off of billable work. So join me for the Aksher adventures. So Rahat, I hope that helps you a little bit with the idea of prototyping. I believe strongly in prototyping realism. I'm wearing my Aksher shirt today. But I don't believe that visual design is the best measure of that realism. I believe that the usability and the reality of the interactivity is the realism that we should measure. Ooh, we ran late. I'm going to go, everybody. I think I'm going to go right to bed and just try to turn this day off. I'm sorry. I told Elijah Claude, who comes here sometimes, I said, don't you see me yawning through my own podcast? He's like, no. I'm like, oh, then I must be sneaky yawning. But today I just can't hide it. I'm also allergic to caffeine. So after 3 p.m., I'm usually just well, yes, thank you, Maggie. Anybody who messages me on Slack now, like Maggie or Frederick, I'll try to answer you a little bit from bed because I'm just going to relax before going to sleep because it's 7:40 at night here. But boo, it's dark out. Boo, summer is gone, everybody. Boo. Peaches says virtual hug. Back to you, Peaches. Good to see you here. Frederick, good to see you here as well. And I did send an email to those guys. So hey everybody. Hope to see you here tomorrow. I forgot to go through the upcoming list of cool things that are coming your way. But tomorrow is conversational UX and chatbots with 2 special guests who are experts on that. So I really hope that you'll be able to join in for that and ask your questions about chatbotty things and conversational UX. So hydrate. I know I have a cup, an American cup, the cup that they give you in the Mexican restaurants. I bought 8 of them. So this holds like a liter. And I only drink water, so what can I tell you? And what did I have earlier? Water. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Catherine the Bear, aka a bucket. Yeah, exactly. People go, isn't that cup's the size of your head? And I go, yeah. Have you been to an American restaurant? This is how you get your water. See, one of the many American things I bring over, and this is like $1.50 at the restaurant supply store in Tucson. Ah, you could put out a medium-sized fire with that. I know. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Felt really good to see everybody tonight. It picked up my spirits a little bit, but now I feel like my energy has dropped again. So I will connect with everybody soon here and on Slack and in other places. Pete, just track me down. I always want to help you more. If anybody does UX research, relatively full time and is willing to be interviewed by my apprentices, please track me down and tell me or send me a note through the anonymous, but put your email in. Otherwise, I won't be able to find you because it really is anonymous. I don't collect your email. So I would love to talk to you and have my apprentices practice interviewing you. Thanks again, everybody. Have a good night. Be safe and well. Wear your mask. Stay away from people. And I will see you again soon.
Thanks for watching. Delta CX is available for consulting and projects related to CX and UX strategy, leadership, training, problem finding, problem solving, and innovation. Learn more at deltacx.com.